on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a Chicago Bulls and Washington Wizards game reaction as the Chicago Bulls offer a second night of a back-to-back in dire strengths to try and pick up some wins in terms of these winnable games in the NBA season. Finally stood up and delivered as we beat a Washington Wizards side. Granted, a non-healthy Washington Wizards side, but nonetheless, we can't really focus on that at the moment because every win counts for the Chicago Bulls. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the current Chicago Bulls situation. Who was your player of the game today? And your overall thoughts and opinions on how well we played in this game. We won this game 107-94, ladies and gentlemen. It was a very, very good game for the Chicago Bulls for the most part. Of course, Washington did end up keeping it relatively close throughout the whole game. And there were still some struggling moments for the Chicago Bulls, as we've come to expect from them. But as I always say, and especially in this sort of instance where it's so late on in the season and we still are really unsure of where we're going to finish in the Eastern Conference, every win matters, ladies and gentlemen. So as good or as poorly as some guys played today, as very weird as this game was to watch, all of that put aside, the win is the most important thing for the Chicago Bulls. So that is what I'm going to walk away from thinking about, because at the end of the day, this is one of those games where you're probably not going to remember it in a couple of months' time, but it's going to be very important towards where we finish in the Eastern Conference. So I'm very, very happy with the Chicago Bulls about a game like this. But obviously, in terms of this game, just like every other game, the Bulls still have their strengths and weaknesses. At the end of the day, I do have to say Washington are struggling, but also you got to give credit to the Bulls defense in today's game. We once again held the team to under 100 points and above 90. They scored 94 in the game. That's a very good sign for the Chicago Bulls. We've done it a couple of times within the last couple of weeks, but also it's good for the Chicago Bulls to get that confidence. But at the end of the day, we're only really doing these against teams that are struggling or teams that are not very good offensively. Again, Cleveland, we did it to twice. They obviously had a couple of injuries both times that we faced them. They've been struggling. The Raptors, I believe, which we won, they had a couple of guys out for their game as well. And also now against Washington without Bradley Beal, we've done it once again. So I'd like to see that translation of our defense try to meet a good team and try to see if we could do the same thing against them. For example, we've got the Miami Heat very soon, maybe even the Clippers with Paul George coming back today. That's going to be an interesting game for them heading into the United Center. But those types of teams that are really good for their season, again, Miami's probably the one to really think of. Let's see if we can put them to under 100 points and keep them above 90 in that range, because that would be very good for our season, because that will give us a better chance to win those types of games, because we know Miami can do that to anybody, but the Bulls, we could do that when we're at our best, but we just have not been at our best. So at the end of the day, that's the challenge for the Chicago Bulls, in my opinion. We've seen them really keep teams to below 100 when they're struggling. Let's see if we can keep teams below 100 when they're one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, even if it was the Western Conference, whoever we're playing. Let's see if we could do that. That's the next challenge for the Chicago Bulls. Offensively, I thought we were miles better today, and you could just tell by the ball movement that this team really had some sort of flow. I believe we had 30 assists in this game today, which is pretty good for the Chicago Bulls, especially since they've been struggling with ball movement recently. But also in saying that, there were a couple of guys that were really surprisingly struggling today. For example, I thought most of the starting lineup, it was basically DeMar and Vucevic, the only two guys that were really at least taking shots. But even if they weren't taking shots, they were just the ones that were kind of getting involved in the game. And again, I'm not saying they had great games. I thought Vucevic was outstanding today, in all honesty. But I don't think DeMar DeRozan was terrifically great today. He got 32 points, but he took 27 shots to get there. So at the end of the day, that kind of cancels each other out in many ways. He had a great fourth quarter. But outside of that, DeMar struggled. Zach LaVine struggled all game today. Then Ayo and Caruso had a combination of 6 points together, which is very, very poor for the starting lineup. So I'm very thankful that this bench stepped up today, because the starting lineup, as good as DeMar was in the fourth, as good as Vucevic was all game, the rest of the guys really didn't have much else to say in the game. It's really unfortunate, but that's just how it went. So when you look at the bench, ladies and gentlemen, you see Kobe White finally get some scoring opportunities and actually start to make some of those shots. Then you see Patrick Williams, granted didn't take that many shots. He took 4 shots, I believe, today. He still made a couple of them and he got to the free throw line. That's very good. Javonte Green with 9 points off the bench is fantastic. And obviously you've got guys like Tristan Thompson as well making an impact. So the bench really stepped up in my opinion. I got over 26 points off the bench today. That's what we really needed because you saw Zach LaVine, Caruso and Io really struggle with their shot today. So that's something I'm very happy with as well. And that was well needed towards the win. If we didn't see the bench production today, we would have easily lost this game. And it was a very low scoring game either way. So congratulations for the bench for stepping up in this game. And it was a very well needed performance. But with that being said, let's look at those individual performances today. We did very well in the paint today. And I think that reflects in the stat lines that you're going to see. So DeMar DeRozan had 32 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 12 from 27 from the field, 1 from 2 from the three-point line. As I've said countless times, DeMar DeRozan struggled in this game, but in the fourth quarter, he is a different player than what he is in the first 3 quarters. So he really had a great fourth quarter. He kind of took charge in this game in the fourth quarter. And look, you're going to see a couple of times where you're frustrated with DeMar DeRozan for taking all the shots in the fourth. And there's going to be games like this where you're going to be thankful that he's scoring every single shot that he takes. So again, it's one of those games where, yeah, if he missed them, we're all going to be criticizing DeMar. But when he makes them, he's the king of the fourth quarter. He's the fourth quarter scorer, and he deserves all the praise. So congratulations to DeMar on making those shots. And hopefully this is the next step for him to try and elevate himself towards a better, I guess, stat line, better efficiency, just a better performance overall, because he's had a really tough stretch of March, and because of that, the Bulls have lost a lot of games. DeMar, in many instances, when he plays well, this Bulls team will have much more opportunities to win than what they do when he doesn't play well. So he hasn't played well a lot in March, and we've lost a lot of those games. So it does make sense. He's one of our best players, if not our best player, and he should be the guy that can hopefully carry us out of these tough times, and maybe in the playoffs he'll become 10 times more valuable. We'll have to wait and see. Zach LaVine, very poor night for Zach LaVine. 14 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 from 10 from the field, 2 from 5 from the three-point line. I think he got his first points in the third quarter. I couldn't believe it, in all honesty. I mean, you got to give credit in some instances for Zach LaVine because he had tough shot selection today, but he wasn't forcing up shots. Out of the big three, he took a lot less shots than both Vucevic and DeMar. I mean, DeMar was insane, but Zach LaVine took a lot less shots than Vucevic. So he wasn't forcing the issue, but he was struggling in today's game, and you could clearly see it. I heard Stacey King in some instances in this game is that Zach LaVine is doing other things other than scoring. In my eyes, I didn't really see it that way. I thought Zach LaVine was trying to play good defense, but outside of that, I didn't see him make an impact offensively. I didn't really see him make an impact other than just him being there, to be honest. Maybe being a good floor spacer, maybe being a guy that they have to respect from the three-point line, but he didn't really do anything else offensively up until the third quarter. Then he got to the foul line. He had 6 free throws today, the most on the team outside of DeRozan, and that's where he got a little bit of his opportunities, but he struggled today. This is a sign that we can see one of the big three struggle, but you're going to have other guys step up if we're going to win those games. That's why I give credit to the bench today, because Zach LaVine struggled so much in this game. But then you see Kobe White and Javonte both have 9 points off of the bench. You see Patrick Williams and Tristan Thompson also contribute off of the bench. And you just know that from that perspective, we kind of made up for Zach LaVine's poor performances with a little bit of decent to really good performances off of that bench. So that's where the respect goes for the bench. And obviously we know Zach LaVine will be better than this. His 14 points was a bad game today for Zach LaVine. Maybe he shouldn't have played. But at the end of the day, he is still here. He is still trying to fight for his position, trying to fight for this Bulls team. So you've got to give him credit for that. But it was definitely a performance that I don't think we'll see from him, I guess, for the rest of the season. But only time will tell. We'll see what happens in the next game. Nikola Vucevic, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. I honestly thought Vucevic was our best player today and the most consistent player by far. 63% from the field, 2 from 5 from the three-point line. Again, I'm not really accustomed to seeing Vucevic. I don't want to see Vucevic shoot 5 threes, but he made 2 of them today, so not too bad. Got to the foul line once, made it. And also with Vucevic, it was all him in the paint. Domination in the paint is what I like to say. For a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, again, he has a lot of great strengths towards Porzingis' game. He's very tall. He can shoot from the three. He can definitely make a lot of mid-ranges. He's a good pick-and-roll player. But the weakness of Kristaps Porzingis, especially defensively, but even offensively, he's not a physical guy. He doesn't want to bang down low in the post. He doesn't want to use that size to his advantage. And he's probably not strong enough to stop guys like Vucevic. And that was reflected in today's game because Vucevic absolutely dominated Kristaps Porzingis in the post. And he made sure that every single time Porzingis was in the game, that was a threat. Every single time. They had to result in double teaming Vucevic. And then in the end, that's when DeRozan got a lot of open shots. And then they had to double team DeRozan. That's where you see guys like Zach LaVine get open corner threes. Alex Caruso had a nice open layup at the end of the game. Ayo with a couple of mid-ranges. These are the things that allowed other guys to get open. Same with Kobe White, even Patrick Williams with a couple of putbacks and stuff like that and getting to the foul line. That's all because they're prioritizing Vucevic, and then they have to prioritize DeRozan because he's stepping up as well. Other guys can get involved because of that. And Vucevic is the perfect guy, in my opinion, to do that. He's a great team player. When you get him going offensively and he's out there scoring post hooks, mid-ranges, three-pointers, and they have to prioritize him, they have to double team him, Vucevic, in my opinion, is the perfect guy to be the one that's passing the ball when he's getting double teamed because he's a team player and he'll look for the pass first over trying to shoot over two people. So he had a great game, in my opinion, as well. Alex Caruso, 2 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals in the game. Defensively, Alex Caruso was as good as you come to expect from him. Offensively, he did not really make much of an impact. Again, his biggest point was in the fourth quarter with an open layup. It was a great layup, but at the end of the day, not really much of an impact on the offensive end in terms of scoring the ball. And it's frustrating because, again, when you see Zach LaVine struggling, you'd like to see guys like Alex Caruso and Ayo, the main guys, playing half an hour in the games to try and take a little bit of a leap and take a little bit of the weight off of Zach LaVine. As much as the bench really did that, in my opinion, I think the starters that are not known as the biggest scorers on the team, like Caruso and Ayo, should also be the guys that will be able to do that for us. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. I think the biggest weakness at times for these guys was that, again, I don't feel like they are naturally good at kind of picking their spots in terms of scoring. I feel like most of them are in the flow of the offense for them, but they're not really going to be aggressive to the point where they're going to take a shot on their own. They're not going to really step out of the boundaries of what they're known for. Alex Caruso is the perfect guy for like the off-the-ball movement, cutting to the basket and stuff like that. But when it comes to him having the ball and trying to do something, he's usually going to be the guy that passes first. And that's the same with Ayo as well, which shows in their assist numbers, to be honest. And that's where they did have the impact in the game, defensively and with the assist numbers. And the same with Ayo, who had 4 points, 1 rebound, 6 assists in the game, 2 from 5 from the field, 0 from 1 from the three-point line. Ayo made a big mid-range at the end of the game, which was very, very positive to see. But again, the aggression in terms of Ayo Dosunmu, five shots. When Zach LaVine is struggling, those shots can be divided with more with Alex Caruso and Ayo. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be complaining about it. We won the game, and they made an impact defensively. They did a good job, in my opinion, on that side. And playmaking, again, having those two guys running the show from the starting lineup, it's an interesting concept. It's a concept that's worked 2 out of 3 games. So we'll wait and see if it can continue. But overall, I think it was an okay night for both of them. Kobe White, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists in today's game. One of the best games from Kobe White we've seen in the last week by far. The last 2 games, he scored more in this game than the last 2 games, and his assist numbers were great as well. 4 from 9 from the field, 1 from 3 from the three-point line. Again, it's a little bit inconsistent, but at the end of the day with Kobe White, we know what he can be when he is going to be able to score the ball. And that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're hoping we're going to see, especially come to playoff time. But for those people that are saying he's very inconsistent, I don't think anybody can argue that at the moment. I don't think anybody can. As much as I like Kobe White, he has been inconsistent. But it's time to show that he can be consistent. And it comes down to the final stretches of the games, and he'll have to prove it in the playoffs as well. Because if he's going to be a streaky shooter in the playoffs, There are going to be games where we're going to desperately need Kobe White, but he won't be able to put any pressure on the scoreboard for the other team, for our team against other teams. We're going to need Kobe White to be a good scorer in the playoffs and make those right decisions like he did in today's game. So a very good night for Kobe White, but we're going to have to see more of it for many people to change their minds. Patrick Williams, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 1 steal, and 2 from 5 from the field, which is 40%, 0 from 1 from the three-point line. Now, obviously, this is a much better game compared to the last game against the Knicks, where he had 0 points and 0 shots and only 2 rebounds. Good impact on the boards. And again, we need guys like Tristan Thompson. We need guys like Patrick Williams, especially when teams are playing bigger. I think Washington were a little bit bigger than the Chicago Bulls today with Hachimura and Porzingis. But again, Porzingis is not a really physical type of guy. Vucevic only had 5 rebounds today, so it was really spreaded well by everybody else. Patrick Williams got 7 of those rebounds, which is fantastic for Patrick Williams. And that has to be a consistent part of his game that's always going to be there. Aggression aside, that's going to take a long time for Patrick Williams if he can even get there. But rebounding has to be a part of his game that needs to be crucial, especially playing at the power forward position. He needs to find a way to get to the glass, to box out individuals, and just try and see if he could use his athleticism to get some of those easy boards. Today was a great display from that. 6 points, 5 shots. It's not the worst thing for Patrick Williams, is it? Again, you want Patrick Williams to be aggressive. You want him to take 5 shots. You want him to take more than 5 shots in a game because he has the talent to be able to make a lot of those shots. So we're looking at the potential of Patrick Williams once again. But today was definitely an improvement from the Knicks game. And all I can ask for now is for him to look at this game, look at what he did well, look at what he needs to improve on, and try to do better in the next game against the Clippers. That's all we want out of a young player, is to be better than their last performance, to be better than their last season. All of that stuff is what we want to see out of Patrick Williams, and then we might get more out of his potential than what we're getting at the moment. So great for Patrick Williams. Tristan Thompson, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists in the game with 1 block. Again, both of his shots were really just post hooks. It's the same type of game for Tristan Thompson that we normally see. At least he's consistent in what he brings. I still think we could do a better job in finding him, and I'm not going to really change my mind on that until we obviously do that better job. But it's not a bad game for Tristan Thompson either. And same with Javonte Green with 9 points, 2 rebounds, 2 steals in the game, 4 from 4 from the field. Most of his points coming out in transition, which is amazing. Good cuts to the basket. Again, even in half-court sets, he's cutting to the basket as well. Really nice play where the ball gets to Vucevic. Vucevic gets double-teamed. Javonte cuts from the corner all the way down to the basket. Nice dunk, easy as you like. These are the type of plays that I want the Chicago Bulls to run more of. Again, when I compare Miami and I compare Warriors and these types of teams that we played against, they make easy plays for guys, even if they're not known as natural scorers. They make easy plays for open guys to cut to the basket. Backdoor cuts from the corners, even just normal cuts from the top all the way to the basket. It's very easy and it's very simple basketball, and it's a very simple play, but it's very effective, and I think it stood in Javonte's performance and Alex Caruso's bucket as well. Easy plays to get guys open. That's all for the individual performances, ladies and gentlemen. Looking at the must improve, I think obviously it has to be Zach LaVine, but I don't really want to target anybody else out in today's game. Zach LaVine is our best player, one of our best players. Again, you could have the argument between DeRozan and LaVine, but I think DeRozan's been our best player this season, and I think Zach LaVine's the better overall player. That's my personal stance on the situation. So Zach LaVine has to do better than this type of game. He was struggling, he only had 1 assist, and he was struggling from the field. We don't usually see these types of games from Zach LaVine. You might see it every once in a while, but again, he's a naturally gifted scorer. He's a naturally gifted player. He's very athletic, and I felt like at times he was very complacent in his shots, but when he did attack the basket, great things happened for Zach LaVine. And that seems to be the common thing for all of our players, most likely. When players cut to the basket, good things happen. Same with Vucevic in the paint. When he's in the paint, good things happen. DeRozan, we usually see DeRozan in the paint or at the mid-range anyway. Same with Kobe White. When he gets off of a pick and roll and goes for layups, good things happen. Same with Patrick Williams with backdoor cuts. Javonte Green with backdoor cuts. Alex Caruso with backdoor cuts. So easy, so simple, and it benefits the Chicago Bulls. So very, very happy overall with how the team played, but we know Zach LaVine can be better than this. And the player of the game for me is Nikola Vucevic. As much as DeRozan had a really strong fourth quarter, and he basically gave us the win when it was a very tight game, Vucevic was the most consistent all night long. As good as the Mars fourth quarter was, it was fantastic. We need to see more consistency out of everybody on this team. Consistency has been a big issue for the Chicago Bulls in March in total. And even winnable games that we're losing, it's about because we're not consistent. So I want to give the player of the game to the most consistent performer, and that was Nikola Vucevic in today's game. The Bulls' record is 44-32. We still remain 5th in the Eastern Conference. We are 2 games behind the Philadelphia 76ers, who could potentially be losing to the Milwaukee Bucks at the moment. I don't know the score of that game. Toronto is now a game behind us, but again, we don't know if when they're playing and if they've won or lost. Same with Cleveland and Brooklyn. Again, I think Brooklyn, if we continue to win, again, if we beat the Clippers and maybe beat the Timberwolves, it might be very hard for a team like Brooklyn to overtake us. So we're going to potentially finish 5th or 6th in my eyes, potentially 7th if we do really poorly for the rest of the stretch of games. Let's just hope that doesn't happen for the Chicago Bulls. Our next game is against the Los Angeles Clippers. Paul George is expected to return against the Utah Jazz today. Who knows if he'll be able to play, if he wants to play again out in the East with the Chicago Bulls. But we're potentially going to be a game where we see Paul George in this game, which again, in my opinion, even if it's been a long time for Paul George, he's still a very, very good player, and he can do a lot of damage to the Chicago Bulls team. We have beaten the Clippers before, especially in their home turf. Let's see if we can do it again and get even more momentum, hopefully, again against the Clippers at the United Center. Once again, I can't trust this team to really be consistent. It's just the way that it is. It's unfortunate that I say that about my own team, but they've already proven to me that they are very inconsistent, and from a game-to-game basis, they can't be trusted. So all I'm doing is hoping and expecting, but we'll wait and see. I can't trust this team to really deliver on the night. If they do, great. If they don't, I kind of see it coming. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.